Hi, guys. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Good to see you. Let me. Uh, Instagram is yelling at me again, so let me fix that. I don't get it. And then once I get this situated, then we can go ahead and jump in. I see that some of you were already chatting, which I always love to see. That means you guys are really waiting on a good topic to get started. This is a topic, guys, that I think a lot of you can relate to, um, because we're not just talking about, sorry, guys, just trying to get Instagram going here. We're not just talking about leaving your family and not communicating with your family. We're talking about going no contact, which has a different element to it. And we'll talk about that as we go along. Here we go. And hello, guys. Sorry, guys. Live chat. All right, we're good. Instagram's good to go. Okay, so let me go over that. So we're not just talking about separating from your family. We're not just talking about going 3 to 4 months, 6 months, a year, not talking to your family and with the possibility of you being able to reunite or come back together. We're talking about the psychology of going no contact for an extended period of time, that you or someone close to you has concluded that causing that separation is the only way that they can not only one, maintain their sanity, but two, have a life that is free from judgments, criticisms, hostility, ups and downs in their own moods, manipulation and triangulation, and ostracism. We're going to go through all of these tonight, one by one. But we are talking about those individuals. And I'm sure a lot of you on this channel can relate to that, just that feeling of, I have to escape. Because if I don't escape, my mind is at stake. My heart is tired of being pounced on, and my ability to relate in an authentic and caring way is impossible because of the dynamics of this unhealthy family system or this person, right? And so going no contact is saying, adios, amigos. I can't do this, not because I'm mad and I'm being petty, not because I'm immature and I need to grow up, not because you said something or done something that has hurt my feelings or offended me, but because I have determined that my mind is at stake, my heart is tired, and you are cramping and imprisoning my soul. And so that is typically, in a nutshell, the reason why most people go no contact. Now, what adds a layer of stress to this, and I know you guys know this already, but I'm just going to highlight this. What adds a layer of stress to this whole dynamic of going no contact is the holidays. The holidays, right? Here we go. Thanksgiving next Thursday, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then those weeks before you get to Christmas, and even a week or so after the new year, everybody is still in that celebratory mindset, right? The psychology of the holiday is that most people just kind of drop everything else, and it's all about family and getting together and celebrating the holidays. And so the holiday time adds that additional layer of grief and pain, right? That additional layer of, I just want to escape, you know? And so a lot of you who have decided to go no contact and have decided to maintain that no contact throughout the holiday season, I'm sure there's a little bit of anxiety, and part of that is the psychology of the mind, right? Some of that is what we talked about yesterday, kind of being socially manipulated into believing that family is everything, holiday time is everything. And if you don't have those two things, you might as well die. That kind of mentality. So we're kind of manipulated into that way of thinking. But then on the flip side of that, we sometimes have our own emotions and negative self appraisals. And we sit with those and we say, is this the right thing? Should I be doing this? I could just send a text message. Maybe I'll send a text message on Christmas morning, Thanksgiving Day. Maybe I'll just try to catch the voicemail. You know, maybe I'll just send a Christmas card, a Thanksgiving card, a Happy New Year card. It can't hurt, right? Maybe I'll just tell Aunt Susu and Uncle BB over there to take this present I have wrapped and give it to my mom, give it to my uncle, give it to my niece and nephew. It's kind of a form of staying no contact, but there is this level of distance that's still being built. I think it was a year ago, I did a live chat and a video on going no contact, the stages of going no contact, and what that looks like. So I'll try to post it in the description box for you so that you can go back to that if you'd like to view it. But there are stages to going no contact. Some people go no contact and they are 50% still involved. Some people go no contact and they are 100% not involved, and some people go no contact for just a few months, weeks, and then they say, you know what, I'm going back to my family. Some people also get stuck in this bind of feeling like they are lonely, feeling like they are left behind, feeling like people are judging them for going no contact. And so then that's when they say, you know what, I give up. I can't do it. I'm going back to my family. So that's a normal reaction. Now, psychology has a concept known as the window of tolerance. The window of tolerance. Have you guys heard of that? I'm going to be dropping some new terms for you tonight, just so you can have the lingo and the understanding. But usually those who go no contact, they have a small or a decreasing window of tolerance. Why? Because there's hurt, deception, anger, hostility, jealousy, backbiting, rumors, narcissism, mental illness, poor relationships. I can go down the whole list. All of that is typically in a family of an individual who decides to go no contact. And the window of tolerance for any kind of stupidity or silliness is low. The window of tolerance is small. I can no longer tolerate this anymore. Usually when my clients come to me, I will ask them, what is your window of tolerance when it comes to your family? What is the window of tolerance when it comes to these individuals that you just want to say goodbye to because they do nothing but hurt you? And sometimes my clients will say, I have a huge window of tolerance, and that's what's wrong with me. I let it keep going and going and going, and I don't know how to get out of this. Other times I have clients or people who consult with me around the world. Sometimes they'll say, you know what, my window of tolerance is this small and I can no longer do this. I am done. My window of tolerance is so small. I'm so hurt. I'm so angry. I'm just so over it, and I've been there in my past before. I have, with part of my extended family, Another part of my extended family I love, love, love. But the other side of my extended family, many, many years ago when I was starting college at the age of 19, I got to a place where I thought, you know what? I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm getting mighty sick of that. And my attitude was, I'm trying so very hard to be forgiving, compassionate, loving, and I've always been modest and humble when it comes to family and loving my family. But there are some extended family members where you're just like, you know what? No, you're racist, you're rude, you're immature, you're jealous. And I sense that. You're envious. And I sense that. And it makes our interaction awkward. You're hostile. And I don't like that. You're critical. And no one meets your really overly high expectations, So I've been there in the past. I'm going to say between the ages of 16 and 19, I was at a place with extended family, with one side of my extended family where I thought, we're not going to make it, are we? Because we don't see life the same way. And It's not just that we don't see life the same way. That's not all there is to this. Not only do we not see life the same way or see life in a way that is healthy, but you also are critical and rude and envious and bossy and pushy and hostile, judgmental, critical. And I could just continue down the whole list, right? And I know some of you are really relating to this. I see you chatting, and I'm going to go to the chat box in just a minute. But I think I said all that to say is between the ages of 16 and 19 years old, before going off to college, my extended family, one side of my extended family, I really made it up in my mind to then put me first and stop trying to hold together a crumbling wall that I no longer could hold together. Why? Because the other parties were not cooperating. They were not at a place where we could come together and love each other as a family. It was a competition. It was, everybody move because, we're important. And I got to a place where I stopped trying to hold that crumbling wall together and I just let it go, And so by the time I hit 20 years old, guys, I said, you know what? That's not the life I want. And guess what? You ready for this? I didn't invite. You ready for this? I graduated college. Literally the next day from my graduation, I went to grad school. And after 3 years, my mom was like, so who are we inviting? And guess what I said? Absolutely no one. Please, I want this graduation that I worked so hard for. I've been in school for almost 10 years. I really don't want to spend it with my one side of my extended family that I really can't seem to mesh with. So we are inviting no one. And literally, guys, it was my siblings, me, my mom, and my beloved grandmother. That was it. And it was the best graduation I'd ever had. And I'll show you a picture because there's literally a picture of just a handful of us. My brother cracks up today, and that was over 12, 13 years ago, maybe 15. Yeah. So that's my little bit of a personalization to understanding once and for all that my window of tolerance is really small. And once you figure out that your window of tolerance is small and you've given it everything you possibly can, then that's when you know something else has to happen. And sadly, for most of you, it ends up being, and for many of my clients, it ends up being no contact. The window of tolerance is shrunken. I can no longer do this. Now, one last thing before I go to the chat box to talk with you guys and see what you're saying and to welcome you. Let me say that there's two forms of I'm going to call it psychological states that you can get into before you decide to go no contact. Okay. And this is even during the no contact phase. So one piece of this is something known as hyper-arousal. It's really just your body being in a constant state of fight or flight mode, just being in the absolute presence of those family members that you find to be the most critical, the most judgmental, the most unloving, the most overwhelming, right? The most hostile, the most arrogant and prideful. Your body can literally go into, I was going to say slide into, but it can go into hyper-arousal mode where you may not even recognize yourself. Why? Because you're in fight or flight mode and your mind is shifting. You're in fight or flight mode and you're starting to feel overwhelmed and stressed and tired. You may start to experience flashbacks and terrible nightmares, right? You may even engage in self-sabotaging behavior. You may also see yourself kind of being hostile and angry in response to family members. Why? Because your body is in this state of hyper-arousal, right? You're in fight or flight mode. Now, on the flip side of this, as you are deciding if you should go no contact or not, or while you're going through that no contact period, you may notice another state, which is hypo-arousal. Hypo-arousal. And that's kind of at the other end. Hyper-arousal is at this end. Hypo-arousal is at this end. So if you visualize it in that way, it may be helpful. Hyper-arousal, hypo-arousal. Hypo-arousal is feelings of apathy or feeling numb. being in the presence of your family, right? Rationalizing things. No, this is not really happening. No. Mm-mm. I think if I separate for a month or two, we should be able to get back together. Yeah, Uncle Boo Boo or Bill Bill didn't mean that. No, no, no. Mm-mm. No, Aunt Susie didn't mean that at all, right? And you may also see justification. So hypo-arousal is kind of like that numb. I'm going to make these assumptions. I'm not really ready to face the truth. I'm kind of in denial. And hyper-arousal says, whoa, my body's going through this and I can hardly tolerate it. So those two states often happens in that window of tolerance. Okay. And you may find yourself having a really hard time climbing back up. It's emotional turmoil that you go through in that state of having that really short window of tolerance. Okay, that's got to the chat box. Okay. There's a lot of you. So let me get a handle on this. Kim, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in another live chat. Always glad to see you. Michelle Lynn, hello and welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for always saying that. I hope this is going to be a very helpful conversation. Fairy Girl, hello and welcome with the dabs. Always love to see you. Starburst, hello and welcome. Glad to see you as well. James McDonald, welcome. Glad to see you. Says going no contact with toxic family is the golden rule unless you have absolutely no other choice. Well, let me say, going no contact, I wouldn't say is the golden rule necessarily. I would say that going no contact is sometimes the only choice that people have. And not every family can tolerate going no contact because going no contact happens in stages. And sometimes going no contact, if you go no contact for an extended period of time, it may be really difficult to go back and rebuild those relationships. So going no contact is a last resort option that I often say to my clients. If you have to go no contact after trying every option in the book and nothing has been successful, then going no contact is likely the best decision. I do not like to tell people to go no contact with their family, but sometimes that is the only result that is a healthy result. So, I will say, James, it's not really the golden rule, but sometimes it is the only thing that can help an individual maintain their sanity. Now, I will get into this just a little bit more later in the live chat, but let me highlight this since you brought it up, that there is some research to suggest that a lot of families are going no contact in today's society. It's often initiated by the children, the adult child. And there's been some research studies that suggest we are in a silent epidemic. Can you believe that? Of families who go no contact. It's literally called the silent epidemic. Why? Because a lot of people consider going no contact. A lot of people do go no contact, and it isn't talked about prior to them going no contact. It often isn't something that is, advertised in society. A lot of people keep it a secret that they've got no contact, and it isn't something that takes a lot of thinking time. Sometimes, at least in today's research, in today's world, sometimes it only takes a split second for somebody to say, you know what, I'm done. So it's now become what we call the silent epidemic. We'll get into that a little bit more. Sun and Sunflowers, hello and welcome. Glad to see you. Says, I am no contact with my dad, sisters, and brother. They are highly volatile. No contact gave me a chance to heal. Absolutely. And I hate to say that that's the way that it had to go, but sometimes that's the way that it has to go. One of my clients, she says, did I make the right decision? And I said, well, I can't tell you if you've made the right decision or not, but here's what I can ask you. Do you feel like you needed to leave to find the truth? Do you feel like you needed to leave to find the truth? And she thought about it for a while. And she says, you know what? Yes, I do. She says, I didn't know that I was in a toxic family until I left. I didn't know that my father wasn't my real father until I left. And then she says, and I didn't realize that I was imprisoned until I left. And so thank you, Tamara, for asking me that question. I think I'm going to think about it. And so, after a month of not seeing her, she went on vacation and came back to me. She's like, you know what? That was a good existential question that you gave me. She says, I really do feel like I needed to go no contact to find the truth. And I understand where she's coming from. Why? Because sometimes a family, depending on how big it is, a family, I always say this, is like a busy city, you know, sometimes we're all going in different directions in a family, and literally going in different directions in the day, hubby's going that way, wife is going that way, children are going that way, cousins are over there texting, hey, how you been, and the busyness of everyday life on top of the busyness of a family can sometimes be so very distracting that you don't even know that what you're doing, what you're living in, what you're trying to placate and live in the midst of is unhealthy all the way around. And it isn't until sometimes you walk away that your life can calm down. And then you can see that, okay, this is what my family is, and I don't like it. I think that's why a lot of families too broke up during COVID, because they had to spend so much time together. And most people, primarily most of my clients, realized that, whoa, I don't really like him as much as I thought, and I did have a male client. He was like, I don't like my girlfriend anymore. I didn't realize we were so opposite until we had to be together. So sometimes a family is like that. And sometimes going no contact gives you that space so that you can think and process. Chatty Chicky, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. Kev Dower, hello and welcome. Glad to see you. It's a lot of you, so bear with me, guys. Felicia Lewis, hello and welcome. Always glad to see you. A seat at the King's table with Tanisha, Jeanette, Orlando, and MS. Hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see all of you tonight. A seat at the King's table with Tanisha says, I'm not sure how people go no contact altogether. I decided to not come home for any of the holidays, and I have been dealing with a lot of emotional manipulation already and being made to feel guilty. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She says, I'm not sure how people go no contact altogether. I decided not to come home for any of the holidays, and I have been dealing with a lot of emotional manipulation already and being made to feel guilty. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you do need to go no contact for the holidays. I have a client that said, I can't go completely no contact with my family, but how do I survive within it? And so what we together as a team, she and I ended up doing is coming up with this plan where she would busy herself during the holiday, that for Thanksgiving, she was going to stay home. She wasn't going to travel. She lived in a, what do you call those things? She was like a van lifer. She's my only client that lives in a van. She's completely flipped her van and made it a home sweet home for herself. But she decided to stay in her van, live in her van, and then travel. And so for Thanksgiving, this was 2 years ago, for Thanksgiving, she traveled. She went to California, then she came back this way to Virginia, then she went somewhere else, and she camped for Thanksgiving. And that was kind of like her quote unquote excuse for not being home for the holidays. She couldn't do it. All in one swoop, you know what I mean? To say goodbye to her family. So she definitely walked away for just the holiday, Michelle Lynn says, also my 21-year-old. Let me find your other comment, Michelle. Did I miss it? Yeah. Michelle says, I've been ostracized from my family, estrangement. Yeah. Also my 21-year-old son. Yeah, that's awful. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit in a minute here about ostracization. That's really hard to pronounce, but ostracism is another way to put it. And it's basically when your family just says, you know what, you guys go over there. We're all going to go over here because you guys are the black sheep of the family. You've made some decisions we don't agree with. That's unfair. So we're going to get to that in a minute. James McDonald says, separation gave me the space to heal and work on myself. Self-care and self-love is often neglected in our fast-paced society. 100%. James McDonald, if I just would have scrolled down, I would have seen you already said what I said. I love it. Arwin Pera, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Thank you for being a member on the channel, and welcome to tonight's live chat. I very much agree that holidays seem to be evil. Holidays used to be one of my most favorite times of the year, but that was when I didn't know much. It was before I went to college. It was before I did all those years of certification and getting my degrees and all of that, working with families, really being in the trenches with family. The holidays was a special time for me. And I always wanted to start the holiday with Christmas music. I totally love Charlie Brown, and I would wait for it to come on TV. For those of you who know who Charlie Brown is. And I was just in love with the holidays. I love the music. But then I hit college and I started realizing some things. I started seeing things correctly, right? My eyes became open, literally open in the spiritual sense, and then I could see, as most of you probably will agree with on this chat with me tonight, that the holidays started to take a little bit of a different turn. Now, for those of us who believe in being grateful and being humble and modest and just really saying thank you, being reflective of spirituality and God around this time of year, I still do that. I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. But that commercialism and, that constant, what's the word I'm looking for? It's that constant going around and around with Christmas music and decorations and fantasies, and it all feels too much sometimes. So I totally get what you're saying. And I think a lot of people on here can agree with you. Orlando, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. Orlando says, I've been no contact with my entire family and friends for 3.5 years. Only relationship I need is with my daughters. Yeah, I totally get that. I get that. Yeah. Some people may feel like, this feels lonely, and, who wants to go no contact with their family and have absolutely no one to talk with. But that's where understanding comes in, right? Because not everybody has a good family. Not everybody has a loving family. Not everybody has a family. There are some people who have been abandoned to foster care and the adoption system, And so we need to kind of revamp and change our skewed perception of reality when it comes to family, and even the holidays. MS says, when you have to continually block people, is it best to get a new phone number? What would be the point if you cannot get an unlisted number because of technology? It seems that this is impossible. I mean, if you're talking about blocking family members, you might be able to get a new phone number. You might be able to block some numbers you don't want to deal with, I'm not quite sure. I'd have to come back to that one for you. God is love. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you back in tonight's live chat. I also see Access to Rome. Hello and welcome back. Tonight says, I went no contact with my family. It's been nearly a year. The holidays are kind of hard, but it's only fair to me and my well-being that I remain no contact. My decision premeditated. Yeah, I totally get that. That's rough. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about this, so stay tuned. Laura Fett, hello and welcome back tonight. Always glad to see you. All right, El Bundy, hello and welcome back. Glad to see you. Arwin I said it earlier, now I can't say it. Arwin Perea. Thank you so much for the super chat. Always appreciate that. You guys certainly don't have to do that, but I'm always grateful when you do. So thank you. I think this is sitting home for you for sure. Yeah, Laura Fett says, feeling overwhelmed. Yes. Yep. James McDonald, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you as well. Thank you. Kyra Knows, welcome to tonight's live chat. Yeah, welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you both. Okay, guys, bear with me. I am looking for questions and comments before I go back to the content. Pamela Barone, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you back. Yep. Arwin says, so relatable. Yes. Starburst says, been there, done that. and got a couple of t-shirts. Oh my goodness, you took it an extra mile, didn't you? Miss Sean or Shan, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. Miss Shan says, this is me, so sad, but after a while it gets mentally tiring, especially when it has affected my health. Yes, it does. I think that's why a lot of people decide to go no contact, right? It's emotionally and psychologically draining to stay in that same stuck place for a long time, And so sometimes the only escape, as many of you know, from a dysfunctional dynamic is to say, you know what, I have to put a pause on our relationship. I have to put a pause on this thing called family because this is not a healthy dynamic, So I definitely get that. Kev Dower says, we all have small-minded family members who we need to limit our contact with. Well, I would not be surprised. I think once we come out of that fantasy that family is everything, and we kind of, we save that family is everything mentality for those people who really do matter to us. Once we realize that, okay, that is not the truth in most of the world, I think that we can then see that, yeah, we have some family dynamics and small-minded individuals in our circle that we just need to do away with, because it's not, as everybody is saying, it's not a healthy thing. Nine Cats, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Nine Cats says, this is 80% of my family. Wow. Yeah, some people are in that bind for sure. Okay, Laura Fitz says, I can relate to this. Girl Mom, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you. Flo, glad to see you as well. Flo says, I don't deal with my toxic family at all. Forget the holidays, especially my narcissistic dad and his kiss-up daughter. Wow. My father continued to say, I never get him anything. The audacity. Well, Flo, it sounds like a lot of chaos there. And like maybe it is easier and better for you to just walk away, right? Sometimes it is, Guys, I'm going to get to the rest of you in the next round. Let's go ahead and jump in, okay? What are some of the patterns? Let's say that you have decided to go no contact and you have decided to stay no contact for the holidays, and you have decided to really free yourself from the burden of trying to figure out what's going to happen. Am I going to go over this person's house? Am I not? Am I going to text this person? Am I not? Am I going to call them? Do I want to send a gift or a card? Instead of going through all of that, what are some of the things that you should be thinking? Well, some of the research that I have seen suggests that the number one thing you should ask yourself is, have I been dealing with grief in the midst of my family? Am I dealing with grief because of how we interact with each other? Am I having feelings of guilt because of the things that have been said about me, or the things that I've said, or the things people have said to me? Am I dealing with remorse and loneliness? Am I dealing with hostility and anger? Am I dealing with feeling ostracized? Meaning that you get into this situation with your family where so many family members kind of team up against you, and they go against you, right? And they kind of push you to the side, you and those who believe in you, you and your children, you and your siblings, whatever. Sometimes, a family will ostracize not just you, but those people who are attached with you and believe like you, right? Once you start experiencing all of this, it might be time to go no contact, or maintain that no contact, or at least limit contact. So some of the research in psychology suggests that ostracism is something that you should be asking yourself about. Do I feel like I have been ripped away from my family, torn away from my family? Do I feel like there is also a lack of boundaries, that there's weak or non-existent boundaries in my family? If there is, you may want to look at that, right? And if you have looked at that and you've gone no contact, research suggests that you've made the right decision in many capacities or ways. Because not having boundaries means you're going to get ran over. You're going to get mistreated. You're going to be triangulated and manipulated and Did I say mistreated? I did say mistreated. You're going to be harmed. I'll put it that way. And so research in psychology around going no contact says that if you have weak or non-existent boundaries, then you may want to adjust those, or considering going no contact, maintaining that no contact, or limiting contact may be a wise thing to do, you know? Some more toxic patterns in families like this is, if you decide to set a boundary or say, you know what, I'm going to go no contact, I can't deal with this, you may find yourself being labeled the black sheep, the scapegoat, right? The individual who is experiencing what some people call family mobbing, which is there's a ton of family members over here who behave like a clique, and they're going against me and those who support me and love me and are associated with me. And so some family members call that family mobbing. You guys have gotten together on this side of my family, and now you're kind of mobbing me in a sense. You're kind of going against me, going against my wishes, my boundaries, my thoughts, my feelings, right? You're invalidating me in a way that is unhealthy, right? And so I hear this a lot in my office. I just had a case a couple months ago where, the individual that was seeing me said, I can't deal with my family over the holidays. First of all, the holidays are too commercialized for me. Secondly, I had a very traumatic childhood where the holidays simply wasn't anything that was exciting, and so for this person, the holidays brings about depression and anxiety. And there's also a period of dissociation from the beginning of the holiday season all the way into after New Year's for this individual. But I remember them saying, I can't do the holidays. I can't do any of this. And I feel like because of that, I have several family members who are coming against me. And so we did a lot of reflection and a lot of, really psychoanalyzing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. But you can get in this mode where you feel like I can't do this anymore. And once your family finds that out, or they realize that you're saying, you know what, I can't do this, you're setting a boundary, then family mobbing is something that a lot of people feel that they are dealing with. And that, again, is when all of these family members over here come against you. And then you are then labeled the scapegoat, the black sheep, right? Because now the family that you've distanced yourself from, they don't have you to really talk to anymore. And they certainly aren't going to assume any responsibility for how you're thinking and feeling or existing in that family, right? So then what do? Well, they tag you the black sheep. And they all get together over here and create their own world, their own life, their own cliques, their own alliances, their own coalitions, their own political and cultural group. And here you are standing over here alone, right? And so that gives them the space that they need to tag you the black sheep. And so then it looks like you, for an example, because this happened to one of my clients a year ago, it almost makes it look like you are the problematic family member. Why? Because you've been tagged the black sheep. Why? Because you decided to go no contact or limit contact or put up a boundary. And so those three things have put you in that position. And that's a sad and scary place, right? But that's what happens. There's also the formation of cliques, coalitions, and alliances. And I've already mentioned some of this, but let me break it down just a little bit. So let's say, for example, you decide to go no contact with your dad, right? Dad is a narcissist. Everything is about him. He's a grandiose narcissist. So everything is about him. He thinks he's good looking. He thinks he's intelligent. He thinks he's wonderful. And even though he says he's humble and modest, and he does freely give to other people, he only does it so that he can get some kind of reward in return. And that's, pumping up his reputation. That is winning him favor with people in the community. Whatever it is, he likes to give in order to receive in some capacity, okay? You are tired of this abusive father who does nothing in your best interest. You decide to walk away from dad. You put up a boundary. You say, you know what? We're done. I can't do this anymore. What does dad do? Oh, my rebellious son over there. He hasn't talked to me in months, and he told me he's going to go no contact, because he can't handle my behaviors. He says, but let's say your dad says, but my other kids don't have a problem with me. It's just Bobby. My other kids don't have an issue with me. So what does that mean? Well, dad, in this coalition and alliance, takes and pulls in, and maybe pulls in a lot closer than he normally would, his other children. And then they start to believe, like your dad, that something is wrong with you. And so now a coalition and an alliance has been created against you. Now you are the black sheep, the scapegoat, the problem, the rebellious one. You get titled and labeled everything you possibly could. And the alliance and the coalition between your father and your other siblings gets tighter and tighter over time, and that can be really, really painful, right? Let me highlight some research before I go back to the chat box. And then I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you some ideas as to why going no contact is often something that people do. And you may also see yourself in this. Okay. But let me go over, some research briefly before I go back to the chat box. So some research suggests that going no contact, as I stated earlier, is a silent epidemic. A lot of people keep it hush hush or hidden because, again, it's that social ostracism. It's that social thinking that a family is everything. And so, you going no contact is this odd, weird thing that most people don't do, right? So it's kind of taboo in and of itself. And it also has its own judgments and criticisms. So because of that, it's called the silent epidemic. Now, most of the adult children who go no contact with their families, leading to family estrangement, they tend to pull the card more so than their parents. And I did post everything in the description box for you to be able to go back over and look at the research. But one research study showed that only 5 to 6% of parents decided to go no contact with their children. Only 5 to 6% decided to go no contact with their children in this one study. It is such a low percentage for parents to do it. It's a higher percentage for children to do it, adult children. And that adds to the silent epidemic as well. Most adult children are not going to go around saying, I stopped talking to my mom and dad a long time ago. So everybody keeps it kind of hush hush, and that's the scary part. In some of the research that I looked at in preparation for tonight's live chat as well, showed that excommunication, we call it excommunication, or sometimes just no communication at all, seemed to be a commonality when it came to adult children rather than their parents. So some of the research shows that, parents are not going to just, in this particular study, stop talking to their adult children. The adult children tends to make the decision that I'm not calling and I'm not texting. We are not talking unless it's on my terms. And a small percentage of families go through this, but it's still major because, again, the parents are not going to pull the card of not talking. It's going to be the adult children, at least in this one particular study. One last study I looked at had a lot to do with the reasoning behind going no contact. And this study showed that, in the UK, in the United States, and Australia, that politics and cultural belief systems was the main reason for an adult child to go no contact with their parent and their family. In the UK, in the United States, and Australia, the fact that we have political differences and we also have cultural differences, the fact that that's occurring says that, okay, I am going to go this way away from you because I do not believe in the same things that you believe in. Believe it or not, our recent election, there's already research that has been conducted that our recent election has led to family estrangement. Why? Because politics and culture seems to be that puzzle piece that gets shifted around the board. And most adult children are not going to stay connected with their parents if they have a different cultural belief system and they have a different political belief system. That is some depressing research. The day after, I'm going to say 3 days within, how do I want to put this? After the election, I'll put it that way. After the election, the 3 days after the election, I had gotten so many clients call me, email me, text me, and sit in my office and cry, not only about the results, but also about their parents and what their parents did to impact the election. And some of the adult children that I have completely decided to go no contact with their parents because they have two totally different cultural and political belief systems. One family of mine, the daughter called me the day after the election, and she's like, I can't believe that Kamala Harris was not elected. She says, and I am absolutely going no contact with my parents because my parents voted for Trump. And she was crying and she was so upset and she was flighty and impulsive. And I says, maybe we need to look at this a little bit different. Let's kind of get a hold of ourselves here. Is this really worth going no contact with your family over? And she says, absolutely. Because if you're going to vote for somebody like that, then that means that you don't respect me as a woman and as an individual. And, and she went down that whole list. And so where are we in November? Yeah, November. She still hasn't spoken to her parents. Why? Because they have a different political and cultural belief system. So research backs that up, that sometimes those are the very things that lead to no contact between adult children and their parents and adult children and their family. Okay, let me go to the chat box. Then I'm going to bring you guys back and we're going to wrap up. Okay. Okay, we're going to start with you, James. James says, I've had to learn to regulate my own central nervous system in recent years by meditation and mindfulness through other yogic practices and other tools I learned from CBT therapy. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You do. You have to figure out, how do I control me when everything around me just feels so uncontrollable, Yaya says, this sounds like when the narcissist has given you their personality. Wow. I can't remember what that might be referring to. So I can't comment on that. I'm sorry, Yaya. I'd have to go back. I watched the live chat from yesterday and I'm going through the chat box and I was literally laughing out loud at some of the things you guys were saying. And I found myself agreeing. And I just love going back to look at your comments. I was cracking up at somebody. They said something that was funny. I can't remember who it was, but they said, Mariah Carey, I love her, but I can't hear that song again. Something like that. And I literally laughed out loud. And my mom was like, what are you laughing at? There's nobody in this room but you. But you guys are hilarious. So whatever you post, that's my point in mentioning this. Whatever you post, I will always go back and see where the dots need to be connected. So if I don't get something live, no, I'm going to get it after the fact. Excuse me. Tammy Nicely, hello and welcome back. And you're welcome. Yes, thank you so much for that. I'm glad you're looking forward to them. Always glad to see you as well. Michelle L says, I'm so happy to finally catch your live chat. Thank you so much for that. That's so honoring. And I'm so glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Jeanette, hello and welcome back. So glad to see you. Says, wow, window of tolerance is great theory, Tamara. Yeah, it is. Very much agree with that. I wish I could take the credit for that, but technically, I'm sure it's a concept somewhere. I was sitting last night. Maybe I should take the credit because I was sitting last night and I'm thinking, what could be a way to define that window? But as you're trying to deal with this toxic family. What's that window? What can we call it? A battery, a window, a thermometer, where you're just fed up right? And so window of tolerance is kind of what came to my mind. Our window of tolerance can get bigger or it can get smaller, depending on what's pushing our buttons. Half the battle knowing is hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Says my family is crazy, but I love them though. Yeah, there are certain family members where you're like, I love you. I just do. You're my family. I don't like when you do that. I don't like when you say that. I really don't like your disposition about that. I don't like your political beliefs. I don't like that you're prejudiced, racist, discriminatory. I don't like that either. But I do love you. There's a difference between the two. I can love you and not like you, Phoenix, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you. Says, hey, Tamara in chat. Yes, this is a recurring issue. I'd like to be able to explain the anxiety it causes. I miss them separately, but they act differently when everyone is together. Yes, thank you for bringing up that dynamic. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because I think a lot of us have that dynamic, right? A lot of us have the dynamic where even if we haven't spoken in 25 years, if something happens like a death, a wedding, a birth, for most people, they're quick to respond. I'm not going to not go to this funeral. I'm not going to not welcome this baby into the family. I'm not going to not say Merry Christmas to you or Happy New Year. I may not talk to you throughout all the other days of the year, but those 2 or 3 weeks out of the year, you're probably going to hear from me. There's some people that are in that dynamic. And then, Phoenix, there are those people who are in the dynamic that you're in as well, where they get together, family members can get together, and you're like, oh my God. I've done therapy with families who are like this. That's a dynamic in the therapy room where the child is a wonderful child. And I absolutely love doing therapy with the kid. That could be a child, a teen, an adult child. And as soon as mom and dad comes in the room, the dynamic shifts. And the dynamic shifts so much that the child doesn't seem to be the same child. And the parents seem to be different. And then I've been in this position over the course of my career in various times. And I sit and I think, whoa, this is a lot. With all of you together is a lot, but you're right, Phoenix. That's why I'm saying this. Sometimes you can love them separately, but as soon as they get together, the whole dynamic changes. She prays 808. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you back in tonight's live chat. Says, very true. My tolerance is low now. The manipulation and control is too much. Yes, it is. Yep. Black Women in Music Festival. Hello, festival. Hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you. Flo says, no contact can be the only choice for your mental health, and nothing in the world is worth your peace and mental health. I very much agree with that. Thank you for saying that. Fairy Girl, I'm going to put your comment up here so people can see it. She prays, says, I am at peace. Yes. Michelle L says, my family initiated no contact with me when I was 23 years old, and now I am 55 years old. Wow. That's rough, right? How many years is that even? You count up the years. It's like, my God, all that time being separated, One thing my mom, I'll share this with you guys before I continue and then we wrap up. My mom used to say to me, we are not here to stay. She used to say that all the time. And I remember hearing that growing up, that we're not here to stay. And what she meant is that we are born into a family. We're born into the world, but we all must leave in some capacity. We all must die, right? And we all leave this world in a different way. I'll put it that way, in a different way. Some sooner than we think should be, right? And when my mom used to say that, I would process that and I would think it and I think about it. And I would think, I wonder if, in addition to that theory, I wonder if we are really born to exist in a family dynamic where we are to be with our family throughout life. I guess that's making sense. I hear it in my head. I don't want it to sound jumbled up. But, I used to think, I wonder if, when we're born into a family, we're raised by our parents, we become independent, are we supposed to stay in that family until we die? Or do we have the flexibility to say, you know what, I know I was born into this family, but this is unhealthy and I have to go. Sorry. And I'm sure there's many of you on my live tonight who are thinking different things, right? Because we all perceive life to be differently. But I do have clients who have felt like, I know I've been born into this family, and I know we share blood, we share DNA, we share biology, but I just don't feel like family to you. It reminds me of the saying, we can't choose our family, right? Yeah, I love when you say holy cow. I saw that yesterday and I'm like, oh my God, this is hitting home for yeah. God is love says, thank you so much for teaching this kind of things. You're welcome. God is love. She says it's actually, I don't know if it is a female or a male, so I should be careful with that. So I'm going to say, they go on to say, it's very helpful to me with everything I've been going through these past few years. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You're welcome. Sometimes you need that confirmation and that validation that, okay, I'm not this oddball, sore thumb sticking out in a world. There are people who are going through what I'm going through, what I've gone through and what I'm going through. I'm not the only one who says I can't be a part of this dynamic. That's what the world in a fantasy would want you to think, Al Bundy says, I prefer a woman with baggage. Oh my God, you did not say that, Al Bundy. Let me say, a woman with baggage can sometimes be really humble, really beautiful, and really modest about things. So I kind of get that. I do. Mom Tude, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you back. All right, guys, bear with me. A few more comments, and then I'm going back to the content. Orlando says, my family caused no contact when I was 48. I'm now 51. Wow. Jeez, that's rough, Orlando. Fairy Girl says, what is your definition of authentic love, loving? Yeah. Is that a question for me, Fairy Girl? Because authentic, I'm gonna give you a definition. If it wasn't a question, I'm still gonna give you a definition. My definition of authentic love and authentic loving is that I love you from the core of who I am. I may not always get along with you. We may clash from time to time, but I do not want to see anything happen to you. I want to see you happy. I want to see you safe. I want to see you feeling loved. I want the best for you. And nothing that happens in life, nothing that happens between us is ever going to change my heart. It's that way from this point on, even if you hurt me. To me, that's authentic love. We have to throw respect in there and boundaries and flexibility and forgiveness and modesty, right? We can create a whole new definition, right, Fairy Girl? Laura Fitz says, when I went no contact, my stress level and sleep improved. Yeah, sometimes it does. Keep in mind, if your body is in a constant state of hyper-arousal, you're in fight or flight mode all the time. Go no contact with that thing that's caused the stress. Everything comes down to its proper way of functioning, Tammy nicely says, I have to go no contact because my toxic family impacts my mental health and causes many, many triggers, also re-traumatizing. Very much agree with that, Tammy. Yes. If all of that happens, Tammy, then that's your clue to create a boundary and see how you feel. I often encourage families who want to go no contact or want to maintain no contact, put up that boundary, see how things go. And then if you get healthier, if life looks different to you, if you want to live this life in a healthier way, then maybe saying goodbye is the most important thing for you to do. Pushing them over this way and saying, you know what, I can't do it, J Goddess. Hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. Says no contact, but my mom continues to call and pretend like she has no idea why. Sometimes it's no idea why, and other times they have a perfect idea of what's going on. The issue is rationalization, justification, and sometimes minimization. They don't want to believe what you're doing. They want to see if you are going to come back to them, right? You know how it is as a child, you've been punished for something. Sometimes mom may slap your hand and say, don't touch that. Don't do that again, right? You feel scolded and you kind of walk away with this disposition like, how dare you hit me and tell me what to do? Most kids who are stubborn and temperamental, they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to look at you. They don't want to hug you. They don't want to hug from you, right? And so sometimes as an adult child who has said, no contact is what I'm initiating right now, the adult child says, I don't want to have communication with you. The parent may try a series of behaviors that we can liken to a parent saying, let mom hug you, and you're still mad at mom, you know, can you say you're sorry now? Let mom apologize to you. And you're like, no. Well, that's kind of what I think for some people they're going through, right? Family says, maybe if I just tap them and keep tapping them and keep nudging them, they'll come around. And some families or some individuals say, we're not coming around. It's goodbye, Okay, guys. Coin Butterfly says, do toxic family members realize they were toxic eventually? Some people who have insight and go to therapy and can change. Other people have no idea what they've done. I think we're human beings in such a way that we miss sometimes our role in things and we genuinely don't see what we're doing, right? And then there's other humans who recognize what they're doing, but they justify it and say, I have a reason why I did this. They minimize it and say, oh, come on, I just did A, B, and C. Can't you get over that, right? So there's minimization. There's rationalization. Oh, well, the only reason why she went no contact is because she's jealous. It's nothing we did. We've never done anything to her. She's gone no contact because she's jealous of BB, right? So there's rationalizing, there's justification, there's minimization, and then sometimes there's narcissism. Me, moi? No. She didn't go no contact with me. I'm too wonderful for that. She must be prejudging me because I'm not anybody you go no contact with, So all of those ill ways of thinking, Queen Butterfly, can cause a person to not wear these blinders that they are the reason why you've said goodbye, And then, I think there's away from those labels and that way of looking at it. I also think that there are humans who just feel like we didn't do anything, we haven't done anything that's awful. Yes, you have. You need to look at it. But I think a lot of people don't want to, and they don't feel the need to, so they don't, Okay. Handful of comments coming up, guys, and then I'm going to go back to the content, and then we're going to wrap up. Caitlin Brown, welcome. So glad to see you back. It's been a little while. Caitlin Brown says, hey, I'm still impressed. Go no contact with my dad at some point in my life, and my parents finally in a process of divorcing each other. I hope they find their own peace eventually. Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry to hear that. But sometimes, divorce gives the family the peace that it needs, right? Sean here, welcome to the live chat. Always glad to see you. Says, I would really appreciate some advice on how to manage a smear campaign targeting my restaurant. It's an open door, and the flying monkeys are people who haven't met before. Yeah, who we haven't met before. Yeah. I don't know what to say without getting off topic, Sean Hammer. You may want to consider, number one, you could encourage Google reviews from the customers who have positive things to say about you. So you could have them post Google reviews so that you have those positive things that kind of counters the negativity, right? You can also put up a boundary, make sure that, you protect your reputation online, and also make sure that if there's any accusations, that you have a very clean and positive online presence. You can do that as well. And any complaints filed against you, as long as you have proof that, what people are saying about you isn't true, you can do that as well. Okay. That's really all I can give you without getting into a whole new topic on the live chat tonight. But you may just want to engage in damage control, right? You can't, and this is even in families, that you have gone no contact with. You can't control what they say and think about you. You can't, right? So the healing and the protection of yourself is really a realization that there are two places I need to figure out where I belong. Is this in my control or out of my control? And when you recognize that it is out of your control, then you need to zone in on the things that you can control. And sometimes that's damage control. The only thing that I can control here is my ability to buffer this damaging person over there, right? And so that's protecting your space, protecting your reputation, doing what you do best, staying the person that you are, right? Continuing on no matter what that ill-behaved person is doing over there, And if you were my client, Sean Hammer, that's what I would tell you. You can't control them. Control what you can. If you're dealing with a family who smears you and hurts you and belittles you, control what you can. And that might be a small control, a small realm of control, but that's really all you have, right? Damage control. I hope that helped. Okay. Why have some people chosen this method? What is the justification for walking away? You ready, guys? Research suggests that a justification for walking away is the fact that you have dealt with traumatic and emotional invalidation. And you have dealt with this cyclic invalidation over and over and over in your family and in your life. And so that cyclic invalidation is often a justification for going no contact. The other thing I tell my clients when they say, I feel so bad for going no contact, did I do the right thing? Why would I even choose this route? And so this is the number one thing I tell them. You woke up. You woke up. Your eyes became opened and you saw things that you didn't like, that was unhealthy to you, that was harmful to you. And so you've woke up. You had to leave to get the truth. You had to step out to see inside. And so that's a process that really takes sometimes walking away from your family. And so that's a justification right there. Exclusion and unequal treatment, that's another justification. A lack of authentic love and a lack of authentic bonding, that's also a justification. Trivializing things and constant family turmoil and diverting and constant jealousy and envy, those are all justifications for going no contact. And really the way that you want to look at this is on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the worst that I have experienced in my family. Where am I along that spectrum? And if you're at an 8, if you're at a 9, and if you're at a 10, then these are justifications for why you had to walk away, Constant negging is something that I've heard of before. And I remember hearing it a couple of years ago. And I'm like, what does that mean? Constant negging is a psychological or sociological term that identifies hidden insult. Every time you communicate with a person, they are negging you, right? Constant insult, but in an indirect way, in a silent way, in a passive aggressive way. There's an insult somewhere in there. My mom tells me the story of something that happened to her when my grandfather remarried. My grandfather had an affair on my grandma. Then my grandmother divorced him. And then he went to live with his new family. And my mom dealt with a lot of, so she tells my siblings and I, over the past couple of years, she shared this with us, that she dealt with a lot of segregation and impartiality and a lot of issues, with his new family. And she brought up this incident where his new wife said, you look just like our daughter, because when my grandfather left my grandmother, he had a baby with his new wife. So my mom tells the story that the new wife says, you look just like our daughter. You can see that you are siblings. You guys are half siblings. She says the only issue here, though, and I don't think it's a big issue, is that she is pretty. And my mom said, she was like, what? The undertone of that says you guys might be half siblings, but she's definitely prettier than you. And so my mom kind of took it to mean that. And so that's an example of negging, right? This undercurrent comment that you're making, and that undercurrent comment says something that's a backwards insult, to say the only issue I see here is that she's pretty. Well, that kind of X's my mom out of the equation, So negging, that can happen a lot. I also see this in family sessions, if I'm doing family therapy with a client, sometimes I'll hear something like, people just need to learn how to get smarter. People need to learn how to just be classy. People need to learn how to just have more common sense. Well, we're not in a family session talking about people. So you're definitely throwing that at my client who's sitting on the couch listening to you talk, So that could be an example of negging. Microaggressions, right? And reverse psychology can also be a justification for going no contact, right? Often be in a position where you feel like there's reverse psychology being played on you, that you're constantly being triangulated and manipulated, that your reality is constantly being skewed by family. That's a justification to sometimes separate, put up a boundary, or just block it, right? Microaggressions are that minute, split second facial expression or comment that has a negative undertone. And you can see that what the person is trying to display is not what's really being displayed, No win challenges or struggles, double bind communication. That's another thing to consider as a justification for going no contact. You're in a no-win situation. It's like, if I don't call you during Christmas time, you're going to be upset. If I do call you on Christmas morning, you called me too early. If I send you a Thanksgiving and Christmas card, you get upset because I didn't send you a birthday card. You get upset if I, try my very best to appease you. You say I don't love you, but when I show that I love you, you back off and push me away. Double bind communication. No-win situations. Double bind communication, really briefly, is something that most individuals who are emotionally unstable display. If you look up borderline personality disorder and double bind communication, you will find a correlation between the two. And really what it is it's almost like the individual who's emotionally unstable, they want something to happen. But then when you go to initiate that thing, they back up. It's like trying to have a conversation with your mom, and you tell your mom that you had something really serious you wanted to talk to her about. And she says, you know what? I really don't want to talk right now. And you say, okay, Mom, that's fine. How about we talk next week? Oh, so you're going to push it off? No, Mom, I'm just saying, if next week is better. Oh, so you think I'm not capable of talking about this right now? Is that what it is? Because I can talk about this tomorrow. I just don't want to talk about it today. And you may say, okay, but Mom, I'm working tomorrow. Okay. Oh, so we're only going to talk when it's on your terms. That's double bind communication. It's very manipulative, And unsafe people. That's the last thing in this category. Unsafe people. These are all justifications for going no contact. Not just my justifications, but justifications in psychology research on going no contact. This is tough, right? As we go through the holidays, I'm going to try to post things here and there for you guys. Next week, I have a few videos. I'm going to do 1 to 2 live chats for you where we're going to talk about some of the things that you probably really have questions about around this time of year. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to go to the chat box and engage you. And then And then I have to run. My mom and I have somewhere that we need to be, and I don't want to make her late. I really don't. I know we're going to be late if I keep talking so much. Designer Guy, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Long time no see. Designer Guy says, my cousin put witchcraft on me and wanted me dead. I've gone no contact for 3 years. She compromised my housing security. I'll never forget. My narcissistic father might have lived with her. Is that what you're saying? Holidays are evil. Yeah, I get you. I get you. We do want to be careful though. And Designer Guy, this may be helpful for you to consider that you don't want to generalize, right? Once we start generalizing, we really make life harder on ourselves. Generalizing is taking one experience and spreading it across different, areas of our life. And that can make us feel really trapped, right? We don't want to let them win that way. So the way that you might want to look at that is to say, holidays with my family is evil. Holidays with commercialism is evil. But you can actually take the holiday and change it and redesign it for yourself. And so I hope a lot of you who are dealing with this issue this year do that. Make it your own. Half the battle knowing is says, as time progresses, families will realize that solidarity is paramount. Yeah. Star, welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you. Says, hi, Tamara and everyone here. Thank you for taking on this important topic. You're welcome. Thank you for saying that. Many of us recently learned no contact was an option. I was indoctrinated into believing we had to take abuse from family. Absolutely everybody, I think, in the world believes that when it comes to family, you just suck it up and keep going. And that is not true. How come we can break up with other people that aren't healthy for us and life goes on? How come we can leave a job, sometimes a job that we have worked for 20 years or more? How come we can leave that because it's toxic and go away and everything is okay? Why can't family be the same? Why? Because we share blood, we share a bond, we share biology. No, I think if we share a bond, we share blood, we share biology, then we need to love each other better. And when I see we're not loving each other well, then I have to leave. Just like I would leave if you're the wrong person I've married. Just like I would leave if I got a wrong job. You know what I mean? It should be equal across the board. I guess that's what I'm saying. Queen Butterfly says, holidays haven't been nice for me as an adult. When I was a kid was much better. Yes, I totally get that. Kev Dower says, and I'm sorry, Queen Butterfly, that's not good to hear. Kev Dower says, I have a similar issue with the holidays, but I think it's important for us to claim that for ourselves in our own way. Yeah, agree. Love that. Agree. All right, guys, I'm scrolling through. Flo says, I've went no contact. However, my father continued to spread lies. He reaches out to others to bribe me in with others, like paying for my tuition. He cut me off for standing on truth. I will never go back. Sometimes that was a little choppy, but I understand what you're trying to say. Sometimes, Flo, family members will do that. They'll go to the most influential family member and get them to talk to you, or they'll go to the bullified or the bully of the family. I'll put it that way. And they will send them to you, or they'll call you and text you. And, they're doing small things to manipulate where you're at. I get that, but then I don't. Once I don't answer you after the 1900th phone call, please stop calling. Yeah. Okay. The Good Glow, hello and welcome back. Glad to see you. In tonight's live chat says, I went no contact with my egg donor about 18 months ago, and now it feels like she is turning other family members against me. My brother told me we're family. We will be okay. Says who? No, not me, bro. Well, sometimes it's like that, right? Yeah. Usually if you go no contact, you're going to get other family members going along with the people that have been left behind in quotation marks, Jeanette says saying no to others as much as we may love them is saying yes to our individual strength and our sanity. Very much true. Thank you for that well said comment. Yeah. Well said. Okay. Arrow, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you tonight. Okay. Just looking for people I haven't gotten to. Thank you so much, Arrow. I appreciate that. And I'm so glad you feel that way. Really, this is Arrow still talking to me. Yeah, my family calls me Tammy or Tam. You know, that's how they show me I'm loved, is when they call me Tam. Raymond Vincent Garcia, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Raymond Vincent Garcia says, "Good evening, everyone. Growing up, my uncle always would say with confidence, 'It's not a party or holiday if there is not a fight.'" Ooh, yeah, I've heard that too. For the last 6 years, me and my fam say no contact from my fam's side. Yeah, I totally get you. Totally get you. Who in the world wants to have a fight every holiday, right? No. Okay. Mouse Swift. I always get your name wrong. I apologize, but I like seeing you on here. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Thank you for that. Jeremy Robinson, did I say hi to you? Welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you. Jeremy Robinson says, "I realize that a family is not everything in my final year of high school. I want to leave, but I have a disability and get government assistance, so I don't have a lot of money to move out." Oh my, Jeremy, hang in there, okay? There are ways to move and find your independence, you know? I might post something in the description box for you. So if you want to post this in the comments section, do, and I'll give you some things to follow up on, some links and some insights that may be helpful. Nikki N, hello, welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. We're going to wrap up here in just a minute. Just making sure I didn't miss you guys. Lord Fitz says, "You get labeled the trouble, ungrateful, and disrespectful daughter." Yeah, sometimes you do. Signa INFJ, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Let me also say briefly that no matter what you're labeled as, you know the truth. Label all you want, you know. That's when you know you have core peace about what you have decided to do. I have peace on the inside because I've walked away from this chaos. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. And I don't care what you believe. I have peace, and I see that I have grown from this decision. End of story. And that's where growth begins. That's where that growth mindset begins, right, guys? Thank you, yeah. I appreciate you for saying that. Candy Substance, yeah. Welcome to tonight's live chat, by the way. All right, guys. Sarah Marie, I was just getting ready to wrap up. Sarah Marie, did you finish that? I don't see where you finished it. Okay. Sarah Marie says, "I think it's sort of become a trend for adult children to go no contact due to politics. I think the children who were abused have a more justified reason for going no contact, but that's just me." I agree. I don't disagree. I think if you go no contact because you have different political views, it's just sometimes very absurd because anybody can have a point of view, right? Anybody can have an opinion, and they deserve access to their opinion as much as you do, right? You have the right to vote for so-and-so, and so do they. Get over it, you know? What I find is the real issue here, though, is politics is really just the external topical piece of the problem. There's a lot of issues underneath that. So if we got a shovel, Sarah Marie, and we digged a little deeper into that family that has decided to go no contact over politics, we probably would find that there are many layers to that anger. There's many layers to that going no contact. You know what I mean? Politics may just be the cherry on top for some of them. But there are some immature, maybe some petty individuals who would definitely slam the door just because of politics, and I think that's just absurd. I think there needs to be a pumping of the brakes and a reconsideration, you know? Jida, I hope I said that correctly. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Says, "The pandemic definitely revealed that our social contract is fundamentally broken. We have been liberated not to deal with each other in a deep spiritual sense. Autonomy is a new craze." Yeah, that's so wisely said. Thank you for that. I very much agree. Ellie Wynn, hello. There's no way I can leave tonight without saying hello to you. Welcome. Fairy Girl says they are all unconsciously being triggered. Yeah, sometimes, and I'm going to piggyback off that, Fairy Girl. Sometimes you go into your family for the holidays and you're triggered all over again. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's when you know you need to separate. Roman T, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you. Says, I feel and see the shift when I'm around family. I've been away ever since my mom passed away. Yes. And I remember you saying that. I'm so sorry for your loss. That's such a pain, right? Especially if you were really close to your mom like I am with mine. And sometimes the family does shift with grief. I've seen that in my family as well. It's very sad. Mystery Lip says, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you as well. Says, good evening, Tam and chat. Family can be the best in the world or your worst nightmare. Very much agree with that. So agree with that. Liv, hello and welcome. Glad to see you. Fairy Girl, thank you for that. IMM, welcome. Glad to see you. Guys, we're going to pause here, okay? What do you think of this topic? Where do you see yourself? Let me know in the chat box. Let me know in the comment section. This is always a tough conversation, and I really struggle. You guys may not see it, but I really struggle to search my mind and my heart for the right words, for the right things to not say and to say, because I know these live chats hold so much power. And I want to make sure that we're covering this topic in a fair way. So I hope that came across tonight. I hope you were able to see that for those of you who have gone no contact or maintain that there are justifiable reasons for that. You're not being immature. You're not being, insensitive. You're not lying and trying to minimize other people's feelings. You have decided to take this stand for a reason. Yes, there are people who take this stand for really immature reasons and should never walk away. But I have a feeling that most of you on this live chat tonight have had a concrete reason for doing what you're doing. Like I said earlier, you woke up and you had to leave in order to see the truth, to get away, to have peace of mind. And that's okay. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I will see you off and on through the week next week. But if I don't see you on my chat next week, have a happy Thanksgiving in the sense of resting, rejuvenating, looking at things that you're grateful for, thankful for, and healing if you're not going to spend it with family. So have a wonderful weekend, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.